Welcome to my last and final review in my series of Quentin Tarantino films. Now, if you guys are unaware, for some weird reason, I reviewed all 8 of the Quentin Tarantino films. Well, this actually is my 8th one I'm reviewing right now. I reviewed all the 7 other ones, including Pulp Fiction. And Pulp Fiction is one I reviewed a year ago. So, if you want to see my reviews for all the other Quentin Tarantino films, there's a link in the description, and you can click that playlist of Quentin Tarantino films. And this is going to be my last Quentin Tarantino film I'm going to review until I see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which will be on Sunday. Now, today we're going to be talking about what I consider is easily Quentin Tarantino's weakest film, Death Proof. So Death Proof came out in 2007, and this film technically tells the story about this man who has this death-proof vehicle, and he stalks, kidnaps, and murders women with his vehicle. That's actually really the plot to this movie. And the thing about when I look at films like Death Proof, and even in the perspective of Quentin Tarantino, this film is honestly kind of a lazy movie. I'm going to be completely honest. Because if you compare this film to like all of Quentin Tarantino's other films like Pulp Fiction or The Hateful Eight or Django Unchained or Inglourious Basterds, Death Proof doesn't really hold up as one of his films, really. Death Proof is, honestly, I'd say kind of a lazy film, from writing and adding, Quentin Tarantino-like elements. I mean, sure, the characters and the dialogue are Tarantino-ish, but the story is just not strong. It's not Tarantino-like. This film is nothing compared to all of Tarantino's other 7 films. It doesn't have that feeling that you would expect to have out of a Tarantino film. Because when I watch a film like Pulp Fiction, I can easily tell that a lot of work went into that film. And when I watch something like Death Proof, especially if it's a Quentin Tarantino film, this film is honestly kind of lazy. It's not terrible. I'm just saying it's lazy mostly due to story decisions and characterization. And yes, the comedy, I'd have to say, is pretty good. The comedy is really cool. But when you really do think of Tarantino films, Death Proof isn't really one of those movies that come to mind. Now I'm going to be completely honest. I'm not trashing on Death Proof because it's not a terrible movie. This movie is actually pretty good. It's good. It just doesn't hold up with Tarantino's other 7 films. It is not that memorable. It really isn't. I'd have to say, though, Kurt Russell does a fantastic job in this film, honestly. He delivers a very creepy performance, honestly, and very disturbing. Kurt Russell does a really great job in this film, and I really respect the guy as an actor. Vanessa Furlito, Zoe Bell, and the other girls in this film were honestly pretty decent. Their characters were forgettable, but that's mostly because they were just, your average kind of adult who would just go out to bars or something like that and drink and talk about men doing funny dances or women doing funny dances and making jokes that either are hit or miss. These characters were kind of iffy for me, even though they were funny at times. I did sort of feel Tarantino in characters in this film, but these girls didn't really work for me that much. I thought the actresses were really cool. They were really great. The girls as characters, they didn't work for me that much. But this film doesn't necessarily deliver a message like the other Tarantino films does, and that's why it's his weakest film, really. It's not a bad film because there are really cool elements in this film. They're not mind-blowing. It's not masterfully well done. But the most important thing about Death Proof is that it knows what it is, and it knows what it wants to be and what it's trying to be. And this film honestly just feels like a roller coaster. It really does. It feels like a roller coaster that never really ends unless it feels like it needs to get to its destination. Because a lot of things do just happen in this movie, and a lot of things are just thrown at you. And if you want to see a movie that has many twists and turns and mind-blowing details and amazing direction, you're not going to really get that out of Death Proof, because it is quite a disappointment, especially from Tarantino. I'd say a problem that this movie has is sometimes it decides to go too over the top with certain elements in this film. And some of the elements, I'm not going to lie, some of them are suspenseful, and some of them do keep you on the edge of your seat. But there are times where this movie just tries to go over the top, which is not a good thing, because Quentin Tarantino is one of the world's greatest directors. He's one of the best directors we still have today. And you can tell that, but just by watching his films, this guy loves movies. If Death Proof was Quentin Tarantino's first film, which it isn't, but if it was, you wouldn't really feel anything from this director. You wouldn't know what he's going for. You wouldn't know the message he's trying to deliver. You wouldn't even know if he's a film lover. Because Death Proof does not have that much potential, honestly. It's a fun film for entertainment. But compared to the other Quentin Tarantino films, this film doesn't really hold up that much. And I know I'm talking flaws about this movie, but I really don't want to trash on this movie. This movie is good. It is good. It's just not a masterpiece like the other Quentin Tarantino films. I'd have to say the comedy in this film is hit or miss. And it's mostly towards the jokes in this film and the conversations that people have in this film. And I have to say the elements where Kurt Russell just goes crazy and absolutely loses it and freaking goes for girls, I'd have to say those were the most satisfying parts of the movie. It was fun because, seriously, Kurt Russell does a really great job in this film. And some of the kills were satisfying, but again, I'm going to be honest, there are times still where this movie tries to go over the top, and there are even some deaths that occurred in this movie that made me legit go, no. There is no way that would happen in real life. Like, really? And you'll see what I mean when you watch this film. You'll see what I mean. Like, this film gets dramatic at points, and it knows that. This film knows what it is. And I guess that's what I can appreciate about it, that it's self-aware of itself and it knows how to be fun and entertaining. It's just not something special, and there was many things that were missing from this film that honestly could have made this film a lot better. And this honestly feels like something that Quentin Tarantino maybe one day said something like, yes, I know I made a lot of good, amazing films with so much narrative and detail and direction, but what if I focus doing one film that's just entertaining? At least one. Or Tarantino probably got to the point where he started running out of ideas on how to make his films during that time, at least. Because after Death Proof, the recent of his films that came out, Inglourious Basterds, Django Unchained, The Hateful Eight, some of his best movies he's ever made. And some of the best movies ever, I'd say. All in all, Death Proof is a fun movie. It's nothing special. It's not a masterpiece. Definitely not a classic. It's a fun movie. It's just one of those movies, I'd say, where you can have on in the background maybe and not really pay attention to it. And that's kind of harsh to say, because this film is from one of my favorite directors of all time. One of my favorite film directors. Quentin Tarantino is one of my favorite film directors to this very day, and I still want this man to keep making films because he's a master. It's just that even masters can have their downfalls sometimes, and Death Proof is definitely one of his weakest films, but it is a fun watch. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to give Death Proof a B. Thank you guys so much for watching this review, and thank you guys so much for watching my series of Quentin Tarantino films. I have reviewed all 8 of the Quentin Tarantino films, and now I'm going to be reviewing. I'm gonna review Once Upon a Time in Hollywood when I see that on Sunday. So stay tuned for that review. And anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are the best. Love every single one of you. Look forward to more reviews that'll be coming very soon. And as always, if you're new here and you like what you see here, why not hit that subscribe button to join the Eli B /520 community. And I will see you next time. Peace out.